All right, great. Well, let's get going. There's like so much to do today in addition to this, so thanks for coming, everyone. Sylvie, you want to kick us off and see what's first?
Hi, welcome to May's Community Huddle, guys. We have a really cool agenda, ushering the spring in, and it is a very busy one. So here's our agenda for today. We have our lovely host, Drew. ¿Dónde estás, Drew? Ahí
Hey,
está.
yes.
And
His brain doesn't process Spanish in the same like way that yours does, Sylvia. I'm not sure.
apparently it does. And first off, we have Peter. Hi, Peter. There he is.
Hello.
And we have Scott. Hi, Scott. And then we have Kevin. Kevin's on interwebs somewhere. So kicking it off, it's going to be Peter doing a cool demo.
But we hope it's cool. I mean, we'll be the judge of that. Be like Simon Cowell, you know?
Everyone's got a vote button.
All right. Yeah, so Peter has a conflict, so we're going to move things around a little bit, and we're going to do it a little differently. Start off with a demo.
I just realized I need to connect to the meeting, though.
Oh, yeah.
That would be helpful.
So if you're new to data...
If you're new to Zoom.
Just a minute here.
Let's see. Do we have any new faces? Oh, yeah, Harry. There he is. Welcome. Welcome, Domenico. Saw you last time.
Thanks.
Mihor, it's good to see you.
Thanks
Match
for
the
dialing
face to the name. Dan, Chris, welcome
While you
back.
all wait, we're just going to give you a preview of the slides, just to pass the time,
What,
So
you're just
Gary
taking
Turk.
a tour?
taking a little
Gary.
tour.
So last month's release was named after Gary Turk, who sent the first email over ARPANET to market his DEC mainframe. And so he's credited with inventing spam. We like to name our releases after people who invented things. And oh, Peter's ready. Okay.
Sweet.
Hand it
Go
over.
with some
All right,
Galactic.
kick it off.
Let's do some Galactic. All right. $1 million question. Can I actually share? Here we go. Sharing.
So this is Peter Spergai.
Sharing is caring.
He's our network software lead, and he's been working on Galactic VPC. So first of all, what is Galactic VPC?
So Galactic VPC is actually going to be the technology that's going to allow us to actually build VPNs across our fabric. So it'll be obviously integrated into Datum Cloud, and then from Datum Cloud you'll be able to ultimately be able to spin up resources. Let's just use compute as an example. We can spin up compute resources, and then we will tie them together over a private VPN connection. But the goal is to really make this not just seamless, but dare I say even invisible. We want to make this like ridiculously easy to use. You should not have to have a background in networking ultimately to use Galactic VPC. If you need to understand networking constructs and how networking works, then I have completely fit to do my job, and I'm probably going to have a very long discussion with somebody about my future at the company. But beyond that, that's really what Galactic's all about.
You think you could bump your font?
Yeah, I'll bump it when
Okay,
I get
right.
started here.
Okay,
Yeah.
awesome.
So what I'm going to show today is pieces of Galactic VPC running. We are on track to actually get Galactic VPC, the technology, out the door by the end of the month. And we actually have pieces of it running right now. So just to talk a little bit about what Galactic VPC is from a technology perspective. So from a technology perspective, it's really two things. It is the underlying network infrastructure and defining what that looks like. And we've tried really hard to do that in such a way that it is not tied to any given network implementation. Obviously, for Datum Cloud, we're going to have a very prescriptive way by which we deploy our underlying network infrastructure. But whether you choose to do it with open source software and components, or you choose to do it with big iron from name your favorite vendor, Cisco, Juniper, Arista, et cetera, through the list. The kind of the whole point of the underlay is we've defined the set of requirements that ultimately the underlay network has to adhere to. So it's something that if you ever wanted to deploy Galactic in your own infrastructure, you have a document you could actually take to your network team and say, hey, look, can you meet all these requirements? But from a Datum Cloud perspective, We are going to deploy it. We're going to deploy it leveraging open source componentry, like we've done for everything else. Very specifically for our underlay, it'll all be built on FR routing, or FRR, if you're familiar with it. On top of that, then we will build our overlay infrastructure, and that's really where the fun comes into play. And that's really what we're going to look at today is the overlay. So the overlay is a BGP control plane. It's not really important if you know BGP, if you don't know in terms of what it does. But ultimately, BGP is just simply a control plane that's going to allow us to exchange information and ultimately build these VPNs. We're leveraging segment routing over V6, and specifically, we're going to be leveraging micro SIDs. So it's going to be a very forward-looking network infrastructure, one that is really built for hyperscale, but it has been proven out in many different designs and many different cloud deployments. So what we're going to look at today is actually Galactic VPC is going to be, I actually have it up and running right now. And we're actually going to kind of look at what's going on underneath the covers. Now, I haven't actually attached Kubernetes yet to Galactic. That will kind of be the next step. So this is step one in the process. So in this process, what we've done is we focused on getting all of the host networking set up, which is where we do all of our in-cap, decap for SRv6 packets. This is actually how we send IP traffic in a VPN across the fabric. And then we've also connected it to a set of route reflectors for scaling. And then we've built a V6 underlay transport, and that's kind of what we're going to look at right now. So to kind of get life started, what we're going to do is make that just a smidge bigger so you all can see what's going on. I've got this all running in Container Lab. My plan was to actually have this merged before today's meeting. I had to make some final adjustments last night, but I will have a PR up. So if you want to follow along at home, there will be a PR up later today. This will go into the Galactic repo so that you can pull it down and run it in your own infrastructure. Everything's there. It's a simple make up. Topology is up and running, and you're good to go, and you can start playing with it. In terms of the actual Galactic control plane, we're leveraging GoBGP as our BGP speaker. So we'll run GoBGP on all of our Linux hosts. That will actually act as the ingress-egress point for all VPN-based traffic. And then we're leveraging GoBGP as well as for our route reflectors. So we're going to take a real quick look here. I've got a very simple network up and running. Like I said, it's Galactic VPC based. We actually have a VRF that's built, me and my creative naming. We got a VRF built called Blue. And I'm going to be really super lazy here and not type stuff out because I tend to mistype. Whoops. When I'm trying to talk, and I can't even copy and paste.
That's right. Copy and pasting is hard enough.
It is.
Don't try to type.
So, whoops, that's actually not what I wanted to do. There we go. This is when you know this is not a rehearsed demo. This is actually the real deal. So we actually have a VPN called Blue. So we're going to take a quick look at that. And so I'm looking at this from one side of the network. So I'm looking at this. This is simple. We've got two edges that are running over an IP6 transport. This was all provisioned by Galactic. And you can see here that I've got essentially two routes. I've got one that is local to this particular device, which is PE1. And then I've got another one that is local to PE2. Go ahead and take a quick look at that. And we can see .2 now is originated on PE2. So if I've done everything correctly, if I attempt to send just a simple ping from PE1 to PE2, this should now encapsulate this in IPv6, segment route this across our V6 underlay network, and ultimately respond in kind coming back. So let me grab my ping command. Where'd it go? I know it's here somewhere.
Down at the bottom.
It's down at the bottom. Thank you. All right. Moment of truth. I literally have not tested this. I literally just brought this up. Okay, I can keep my job for another week. Okay, so what this is just telling us, this simply is telling us that we actually have data connectivity in a VPN that is traversing over an IP6 underlay network in a private network. Now I can actually validate that even a little bit more. So I can actually go in and I can take a look at some of this. So if I were to just go in and look at the routing table from the host perspective, I can actually see this is what my IPv6 routing table looks like from PE1. And here we can actually see that we are actually doing V6 incap. And that's actually how we're transitioning. That's how we're transiting network information or forwarding across the fabric. I can also take a look actually into the table itself, and I can see that, and sure enough, we actually are incapping V6. and we're off and we're running and everything is working. So, like I said, this just proves out that Galactic VPC is real. It's actually working. The next steps for this will be to start to integrate this into our Datum Cloud control plane so that it all seamlessly works from our entire service from end to end. Right now, like I said, we're pulling this up, in Container Lab. But I will get this PR up so you can pull it into your own environment. You can play with it. You can inspect it. You can look at the configs. You can point out everything I did wrong because I'm certain that there are things here that are not right that we will figure out as we go. The other thing I want to mention as I kind of wind this down a little bit is that we're also putting a lot of work and starting to build out the BGP abstraction in Milo now. So ultimately, Milo will be responsible for configuring all of these elements. Right now, if we look at what's going on in this container lab, you see I've got flat file configs. That's actually how it's configuring these devices to get them up and running. Ultimately, all of that will move into Milo. We'll actually have custom resources that will be defined in Milo that ultimately will be responsible for reconciling and deploying this infrastructure. That's actually the next step in this process. And I expect to have a lot of that work completed over the next week to 10 days. So that's where we're at with Galactic. It's finally becoming real. It's exciting.
I mean, it's been such a cool idea for so long. It's kind of like,
it has.
We've been waiting for
nice
you,
to see
Peter.
it doing something. So,
can you just, before you scoot out left or wherever you're going, just who should care about that last bit you were talking about, Milo and moving things around? Like, why would one care? I mean, clearly someone who's just, datum cuddle, do stuff for me probably doesn't care too much. But who needs to care about Milo?
Absolutely. So Milo, the folks that really want to care about Milo, whether it's folks on this call or if you want to bring even your own folks involved, networking and so forth, networking people to get involved, we are actually building an abstraction in Milo. And I have built network abstractions for the better part of over 15 years. And I've built many different network abstractions. And the one thing I can tell you about building abstractions, and this isn't unique to networking, but it seems very, very prevalent in networking, is that we will get it wrong the first 6 times. No question about it. We'll get it 80% right, 85%, 90% right. But the more eyes that we can get on it, the more we can have people looking at it saying, yeah, I know that this is right, or I know you're going to run into this corner case. I wish I knew everything. I don't. As much as I like to believe I do, I absolutely do not. So the more eyes that we can get looking at this, the more people that can look at this and say, yeah, that looks right. That's the right way to go forward. Hey, did you think about this? Hey, there's this corner case to worry about, the better. And so that's really what people should be interested in. A lot of the abstraction that you see for BGP in Milo will ultimately be hidden under the covers in Datum Cloud because we will actually orchestrate it through our cloud interface or through Datum Control. But the more that people can look at it, I think the better and the faster we will get to the right level of abstraction for BGP.
Excellent.
Peter, could you? So the next step, probably, Peter, if you could describe like what needs to happen with the the compute and GVPC integration to come together. That would be awesome.
Yep, absolutely. So next steps. Obviously, get this pushed up to Galactic, and then the next specific step for Galactic is tying it completely into the control plane. That's where the Milo BGP work comes into play. And so Scott and I were talking about it the last couple of days. And so that's going to be where my heavy focus is getting those CRDs to a point where we can actually get them committed and starting to use them in our control plane. Once we've got that piece together, the next step is how do we tie together the efforts around compute for UFOs and for Galactic VPC so we put them together. So now we'll actually be able to spin up a compute in multiple regions and connect them over a VPN. So think of it this way. We're right now in parallel, we're building the two pieces. We're building the compute piece, we're building the Galactic VPC piece. And then over the next couple of weeks, we'll start to put the two together so that you can actually spin up a compute instance in multiple POPs and actually have them connected over private infrastructure that's riding over Datum Cloud infrastructure.
And since you said people without networking expertise were welcome, I'm going to ask a question. How would I think about Galactic VPC vis-a-vis tunnels or other traditional VPNs? And, what's the use case differentiation like with IRO tunnels versus versus Galactic?
Yeah, so a couple of things with Galactic. So if we think about standard overlays, whether it's VPN, whether it's IRO, whether it's I'll just leave it at those two for right now. We can get an MPLS and all the craziness there as well. But if you kind of think about it from this perspective, what we're doing with Galactic is built directly into the fabric, right? Unlike overlay tunnels, which are simply built on top of the stack, when we build Galactic, we're actually building it right into the fabric that Datum Cloud is going to provide. So the point being is it's going to be substantially better performant. As we continue to roll out Datum Cloud and as we start to add the ability to offload a lot of that to DPU infrastructure, we'll be able to achieve near line rate performance for how these VPCs ultimately perform across our infrastructure. So while on the surface, it doesn't look a lot different than, say, a VPN or an IRO tunnel, the problem with those technologies, right, is you're kind of stuck having to manage both ends. Those tunnels are point-to-point in nature, whereas VPC will be a multi-point infrastructure. It will be tied, like I said, directly to the fabric, so it's going to be substantially better performing. And then ultimately, over time, we'll be able to add additional services capabilities directly into Galactic VPC. So as we add, internet connectivity, as we add cloud, on-ramp functionality, as we add other additional types of clouds that we ultimately can define as a services edge, we'll be able to provide that functionality all through VPC and make that available, to your infrastructure, so that you're running in a private network and you're not having to manage both ends.
Yeah, I think Peter, right? If we have an IRO tunnel today, like we have how we expose a Datum tunnel on our desktop, it's a public URL. Hey, tomorrow over Galactic, it's a private URL, right? Essentially.
That's right.
Cool.
It's
the services.
Yeah, and I'm glad you mentioned that, because the thing I should have called out very specifically is that you'll actually be able to take IRO. So if you're running an application on your desktop today and you're connecting an IRO to Datum Cloud, you kind of already know how that works. But you'll actually be able to connect that directly into your VPC. So now that application running on your local machine will now show up as a private service within your Galactic VPC that can now talk to other components running in the cloud infrastructure, and you're not having to expose it over public URLs.
That would be very cool. With private DNS, you have a full end-to-end services which are private.
That's right.
The access rules and access
control. Right. Yep.
Thank you. That's super cool.
Scott, did you want to weigh in? I saw that CJ had just a question there in case anyone's not following the chat.
CJ asked a really good question. So, one of the pieces that we had scoped out in our enhancements is the concept of how we bridge existing infrastructure, especially running in Kubernetes clusters, into Datum Cloud and connectivity. And so there's this goal after we get Galactic VPC in place, where you could deploy an operator inside a Kubernetes cluster. It can automatically manage IRO connections to Datum Cloud for you, and expose your services running in Kubernetes to Datum Cloud, so you can proxy it with proxies, or even connect it to other services that you have connected into your VPC.
Cool, man. Thank you.
All magic.
Yeah, it'd be a really good way to get adoption with existing Kubernetes infrastructure, and leverage a lot of the service account functionality that we recently launched, and ideally eventually do workload identity federation, so you don't have to pass secrets around.
Yeah, this is like, if you've been in platform engineering, I mean, this is the networking capabilities that we've all needed for 12 years now. It's fantastic.
Scott, are you going to come back to service accounts later, or did you? I mean, you just threw that out there like they're just a thing.
They are a thing now. We finally got service accounts.
See you, Peter.
They were briefly named machine accounts, but we decided to rename them back to service accounts at the last minute.
Do you want to just go ahead and give the real, truthful, honest story about that, Scott? I think it's okay.
Service accounts make a lot more sense in the industry, but now you can create service accounts. You can assign them fine-grained roles. That way, you can just give them appropriate access to resources in your organization, whether that's just edit access to a HTTP proxy, deploy compute instances, manage organizations, whatever have you. And then you can use keys to actually retrieve short-lived access tokens from Datum Cloud and use that to authenticate as a service account. And we'll be moving towards workload identity federation and workload-based service accounts. That way you don't need to do credential sharing with other providers. You can just lean on, ideally, workload identity federation to bridge these platforms together.
Sweet. It sounds so good when you say it, especially when you forget the part where some random co-founder told you 8 months ago we should call it machine accounts. And then you were like, no, actually, fine, whatever. I don't want to argue. And then, okay, so that was on me, mea culpa. So, this kind of act of trying to simplify things for users while maintaining kind of a, industrial grade platform is like this friction that you have often when you're building something new. Ends up, you just need to do the industrial grade thing that you got to do. So it's my fault.
And definitely lean on industry standard terms when they're well known. It helps bridge the gap on understanding
like Galactic VPC. That's the
exactly.
industry.
Everyone knows what that is.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're totally right on these platform essentials and core features. Like, hey, man, we just want like the feature comforts. Like, we don't want to fight for them. Those are well understood paradigms that mainly the hyperscale clouds have like pioneered. So like, let's borrow those. I think some of these other ones where we're trying to chart some either new territory or just frankly make it easier. Like that's where we all got to wrestle a little bit more with the abstractions.
Yep, absolutely.
Cool. All right, Sylvia, sorry to move you off the forward momentum here.
Go to,
I'll chill.
Can you go to the 1.4 slide?
Sure.
454. Great. So you heard from Peter. We also welcomed Shelby and Alex this last month, and we focused in on two kind of major areas. One, just core network connectivity, which you got a great preview of that from Peter, and then a lot of usability improvements, particularly for agents. So while Gary here was drumming up awareness about his mainframe, we've been drumming up awareness of Datum Cloud, especially to agents. So we expanded our skill footprint. We used to have, or we still have, Claude plugins. We sort of abstracted our product suite into generic skills that can be used for any agent, or specific skills that can be used generically for agents. I should put it that way. And then we also added an agent-friendly version of our website. So if you go to agents.datum.net, it's just super stripped down. It's it's all about the text and the directives for the agents themselves. And it just basically reduces the amount of research that agents have to do, which reduces time and tokens and all the stuff and streamlines it. It wasn't information that technically they couldn't discover before, but it obviously took more effort. And then a favorite tool of agents.
Can I pause you on that for just 1 second?
Yeah, for sure.
This is like, to me, and for anyone who was like around 20 years ago working on the internet trying to make money, it's like the early days of SEO. Like agents are just like totally learning fast and doing different things. And what we're trying to do with agents.datum.net is like at least like narrow the surface area of what we're optimizing for without like abandoning the humans that also need to like browse your website. Everyone's like doing different things now. So if you have special insights and knowledge about what's working or not working, love to hear about it, because there's a lot going on here. Clearly, the bet that we're trying to take here is like, in addition to like, here's machine readable content, which is kind of like, duh, like here's markdown files or whatever, is like, what's canonical? Like, what's like the truth? That's such a hard thing for marketers to deal with, like, because we're always like creating new pages and doing new things. And so where do we pull that from? How do we maintain that so we don't get drift and confusion, which is expensive for humans, but even it can be very expensive for agents. Mm-hmm. So sorry to interrupt you, Drew.
No, I love it. Great context. And then Datum Control is a tool that actually built for humans originally, but agents actually love it. Can get very far with all of Datum, just instrumenting Datum Control through your favorite interface, favorite chatbot. So we've done some work this month to make it a lot more ergonomic, particularly around like using it not on your local machine, which I personally tend to do a lot of. So you can now auth with a no browser flag, which will basically, before it depended on a localhost callback from the OAuth handshake that wouldn't work because you're on a different machine. So you had to like tunnel it through SSH and it would work, but it was painful. So now you don't have to do that anymore. It just works. And then also we've added a context aware aspect to datum control. So you can auth once and then you can hop between like your different orgs and projects. And then what's most cool is Scott actually built a terminal UI, kind of like K9s or, you know, your favorite BTOP or, you know, whatever TUI is hot at the moment, Pi. It's very similar to that. So you can auth, you can hop in there and then you can, you know, browse around and you don't have to do as much typing. You can kind of explore what's there and perform some operations. So it's a lot of fun for the humans. And then as far as portals, if you actually do like typing, we've baked a chatbot straight into our web portal. Matt, can you do like a 60-second demo of that? I'd hate to put you on the spot.
Okay. Yeah, I could do that.
That'd be great.
Yeah, I'll just share now.
So this actually allows you don't have to install anything. You just go to from the portal, you can say, hey, like, what's running here? What can I do? What's my performance like?
Yeah, so it's project aware. So I made my demo project now. And a good example is just give me a summary of all the stuff in my project. And it'll just go through, use our APIs to like grab all of that information for you and then suggest things like improvements you can do or things you can add. It's very handy.
It's super great.
Yeah, I thought it was funny. The other, was it yesterday in Slack, Zach was funny. Zach like asks in the engineering channel, you know, it's like a 15-year behavior, go to engineering, ask question. And it just like, we're like, how about you just go ask the bot? Like, just ask the bot. Because it was like, does our Envoy-based proxy support this particular, like, I don't know, geo-blocking thing? I was like, just ask the machines, which was a much more, I mean, actually it was great because like, I'm not sure how many people currently watching Slack would have been able to quickly answer that little piece of information. So really helpful.
Yeah, so we've also built the same thing into our staff portal as well. So yeah, anyone from our team can go and use it to get information on our cluster and projects and everything like that.
It's great. The ability to fish. It's great. Other portal stuff, we have vastly improved the mobile experience. So thanks to Yaya Dodek for that. I actually enjoy using it on my phones. It's great to kind of hop in there and quickly, you know, look up a user or, you know, do an approval or something like that. And then it's not mentioned here, but we did, service accounts, which we just talked about. So I just wanted to thank Scott and Kevin and Jose for pulling that over the finish line. And then session management, another one of Matt's features to just help you. It's table stakes, it's normal stuff, but it's something that we've really needed. So you can just go in and make sure that like, hey, where am I logged in and how many times and where from? Super, you know, important to just make sure that your account is being used in the way you expect it. And then on the website front, aside from the agent work, Kaylee, Felix, Edo, Rongrub all done like a big overhaul of our website. Just a bunch of upgrades across content and design. Ali, I forgot to mention him. The feel of it is just overall simpler, and the landing page, the products, it just all the explanations are much clearer. And then we've taken care of a lot of like little details like legal terms, sub-processors, added a bunch of stuff to our handbook about how we work. That's actually a real living document for us. We work in the open, we keep that updated. That's how we actually work. So how we, you know, compensate, how we operate, how we, our values, our vision, everything. So I encourage you to check that out if you haven't before. And then sort of the triple pronged product suite with our AI Edge, we have continued to work with the team at Tetrate. They're our partner who their primary expertise is Envoy, and we've been able to benefit from that. But we're also incorporating their enterprise grade Envoy world, so observability and token routing and all the things that we would love to expose in the Datum Cloud. And so we're getting closer and working on that every day. This last month, we took care of a few kind of odds and ends. One was when you connect with the Datum desktop to our cloud, that is all through Quick. It wasn't through Quick if you connected just straight to our edge from a browser or terminal or whatever. So that is all Quick native now. If you make sure that you can speak HTTP3, which is great. And then also we were sort of piggybacking on the IRO team's relays and their infrastructure as we were getting off the ground. That stuff is all running in Datum now, and IRO is super excited about that because they want to piggyback on a real backbone and a real network for all that stuff. So that will allow us to do a lot of the stuff that Peter was talking about, right? We can facilitate connections and private connectivity, and it will be all orchestrated inside of Datum. And then speaking of Galactic, Peter kind of filled in a lot of design gaps, and you saw the culmination of that and the fruit of that. So expect more this month as kind of he gave you a good preview of that. We're going to try to integrate it into compute as that comes to life. So we have hardware in place through our friends at servers.com who have been working super fast, and we really appreciate y'all. And then Unicraft is working on infrastructure provisioning and switching up their network stack because they had a use case in mind, and then we're coming with all these network requirements. And so being able to bring machines up and down and wake and sleep connections with the way that it needs to work with our infrastructure is a pivot that they're making, and it's going super well, and we're really happy with where that's going. And that will allow us to have lightweight compute that's highly connected, which is really important in when you need connections to live longer, because a lot of lightweight compute is just ephemeral. So if you need to keep a stream open or do something non-trivial with the network, then there basically isn't an option today. So we're super excited to have much more to show you on that coming up.
Wait,
so
what is your ringtone, dude? Tell us more about that ringtone.
It's whatever Pixel does. I haven't done anything to it.
Hey guys, on compute, we're just really trying to dial in our product marketing. Our huge product marketing team is trying to dial in exactly how we describe it, and we've landed on Dubai chocolate as the analogy. Sort of chocolate and pistachio is the perfect combination.
That's all off the presses.
Yeah, but really thinking about something that can feel, like having 4 or 5 different kinds of compute that you use for different use cases is not great. I mean, maybe it's great, but it's like mainly an optimization around like particular feature or cost. We're trying to find that sweet spot that no longer peanut butter and chocolate, but now chocolate and pistachio. That's like super fast to boot up, millisecond, like cold start, like scale to 0. You don't need to keep it around when you don't need it, but you get like all the power of like a real machine plus the isolation. So that's like what we're going for. And we would just love to find a couple friends to really, I know Manish is like, dude, I got friends, but like friends who want to help us.
Dominic, do you like Dubai chocolate?
We want some Dubai chocolate. In the next couple of weeks, we're going to have that in a place where we'd really like to stress test that promise and see if it's like actually as tasty as we think, and make sure that we can really delight, like, by moving what we think is like a really important primitive for an inference and AI world out to the quote unquote edge. We've all been looking for those edge use cases for 20 years, and evidently it's inference. Can we, move some of that intelligence over to the edge of the network and have it feel great and not compromise on sort of like too small, too hot, too cold, too expensive. I'd love to dial that in with y'all.
Indeed. Can we go to the 1.5 slide? And then we'll move real quickly on this one. TimBL, probably heard of them, invented HTTP. We're all using it right now. Pretty relevant. And keeping the internet free and accessible, which obviously is a mission that we care deeply about. This month, you're going to hear more of the same words. We're going to keep expanding Galactic to plumb actual connections and tie it into Milo, just like Peter was talking about, and start applying policy as we build SRv6 into our POPs. We're also working with our data center partners to get physical connection points in place to create our kind of initial circuits for our backbone in our hub locations, which are going to be Ashburn, Dallas, and San Jose to start. And then, like I said, the Tetrate team is working on their agent router, getting that running on Datum, so we can provide token routing. We just got some H100s that actually was kicking the tires on this morning. So we're gonna, we have the beginnings of an inference edge where we hope to, greatly reduce token cost and improve performance by caching, by falling back to open models. We're moving fast. It's quickly evolving. And then our compute story, like Jacob was just saying, will continue to mature and see signs of life there. And then finally, none of this is possible without Milo, which is our open back office system of action that we were building for the new wave of clouds, in which Datum is one. And so we're finally getting some core features like metering and integrated with our partner Amberflow, and we're soon to be able to, actually send a bill, and then, critical capabilities like, deciding what features to enable for which users, which is really important for moving fast and not breaking things. So for more on Milo, I'm going to hand it over to Scott. He's going to give you a bit more info on that with Kevin.
Cool. I'm going to share my screen. So we've done a bit of reorganization with our GitHub organizations. So the number of GitHub repos has been growing as we've been building out Milo. And it started getting muddy on, what's Milo, what's Datum Cloud, how do we think about those things? And so we decided to take the opportunity to actually give Milo its own home, where it's now Milo. So Milo has a new organization called Milo OS, and everything in here will be stuff that is meant to be deployed on Milo, built with Milo, or offered as something that a service provider may or may not need to operate, their platform. In here, you'll see all of all the repositories that make Milo what it is. One of the things that we're working on right now is the concept of a service catalog. It's really like the central point in how you manage services that you offer to your consumers. And it's gonna, the end goal is it being able to program the system and configure billing, quotas, what features are available, how consumers can even consume those features. What pricing is like for a service that you're offering to your service provider or to your consumers. What offers should be available? So what tiers do you want to package with your products, and how does that gate feature enablement? All of that's going to be orchestrated through the service catalog. Then you also have more of your core foundational services like billing. So it's an important, very big, important block, and it's hard to get right. I've built many billing services over the years, and I've pretty much hated all of them. So I'm hoping this one is a lot better.
just hate it less.
It takes about 7 times to get it right.
If you can just get to a point where there's not an end of the month spreadsheet with Steve that you have to review every month and sign off on.
Yeah, we don't do spreadsheets here.
I was listening to a cool interview from the CEO of Airbnb yesterday on my drive down to New York, and he talked about 10-star reviews. And a 10-star reviews is a thought process where, everyone gives 5-star reviews. And if you got a 4, you'd be like, that's not good. But like, what does it look like to get a 6 or a 7 or an 8 or a 9 or a 10? And so like, there's this stretching that kind of gets you to be like, what's awesome? Like, so if you end up with a 6, I mean, you're gonna be pretty happy. But that stretching around the sort of back office experience, especially go to market, like what's wrong? What did it cost me? Like, those are not fun interaction points, but they're so important. And so making that more either like accurate, quick, or actually delightful, I think is the promise behind Milo, right?
Yeah, and also making sure it's extensible. Like Drew mentioned, we're working with Amberflow right now as our billing provider, but we are very cognizant that like Amberflow is not everyone's choice, and we don't want to force them into that model. And so everything we're building with Milo is built around this concept of being able to plug in different providers, so that way, if you want to use Stripe, go for it. If you want to use Metronome, build a provider for it. Like it's meant to have an ecosystem where you can build all these providers and plug in the pieces that you want, and not have to worry about the pieces that you don't want. And then on that note, we've also just gone through some standardization around how we're naming providers in Milo now. So now it's just like vendor and provider. So it's very easy to find, very easy to kick the tires with. Or even playing around with things like RAMP and how to do vendor management and compliance. So give it a look. If you guys have any questions, definitely let us know. Feedback. I'm going to pass it off to Kevin, where he's going to give us a demo of billing.
Yeah, and sorry to take over the chat today, guys. Kevin, while you're warming up here. Thanks to CJ I knew I remembered Autumn, so I just looked and I have this cool browser extension that Felix made, and it allows me to see if it's on the Alt Cloud Awesome list, which it is. So love that.
All right. Hopefully you guys can see this slide.
Yes. Billing showcase.
Lovely. I made this billing showcase slide because I didn't want to do all of the typing. I'm still going to do some. It's still going to be a live demo, but I just wanted to get through a couple slides because I think it'll make the whole point resonate a little bit better. But I can't see you all anymore, so bear with me on that. Okay. So basically, I wanted to frame this. I was trying to think about how I could frame this billing and metering question, and I came down to the fact that most people on this call have either built or bought a system that answers these two questions, right? Who pays for this? How much are they using? You get these wrong, and it causes a lot of pain down the road, right? So how you answer these two questions shapes every downstream financial system that we decide to use. It's invoicing, forecasting, exporting to FinOps stuff, whatever. We get answer these questions wrong and nothing works, basically. Why this is hard. There's a lot of non-obvious problems. I know you all can read, but I'm just gonna walk you through the slides anyway. I'll just hit on a couple of the key things. The key things here are, when it comes to these types of systems and the products that we build, there's a lot of events. There's millions of events, and you have to be able to retry things, and you're not allowed to double bill people, and there's a lot of bad data. There's organizations that belong to many accounts. There's different currencies. There's regions. There's times when projects move from one account to another, and all of that finance needs to have a clear timeline of who paid what and when. So the auditability is like the key thing here. I put my favorite accountant on the slide to keep with our Datum slide format. Louis Tully. He lived at Central Park West and was a firsthand experiencer of the paranormal. Went on a rampage through Central Park looking for the keymaster. I think we could all relate to Louis Tully when we're doing that kind of thing.
His office actually is not far from here.
I was just gonna say, I think it's actually really close, so I'm not. It can't be that far, right? All right. So how we handle this stuff, our shape of Datum, I also wanted to throw this out here as a caveat. This is where it's gonna start to get. Scott's going to start to get a little bit anxious in his chair. I didn't run any of this by him at all. Like, he hasn't seen this at all. I did all this basically last night and this morning. So it might be a little bit wrong. So that's a caveat as well, but it's mainly right, I think. And Scott hasn't seen it. So, well,
Well, this is the best way to find out. So
right.
We're gonna do it live.
Yeah, it's gonna start with that. Thank you, Scott. So yeah,
Scott would never call you out live for having it wrong. He wouldn't do that.
Right. And I can't see his face, so he can make any facial expression if he wants right now. So basically, in a nutshell, there's to go with the Dubai chocolate reference, there's a pistachio and a whatever the chocolate thing on the other thing. So there's a control plane and a data plane, and we kind of use that as two halves of one system, and we have like a really nice boring control plane on purpose, the same shape as every other Kubernetes resource everybody operates. That's reconcilable and auditable, and it's validated. And then all the interesting stuff kind of lives in the data plane, where we stream all of our usage events from the edge using this system called NATS Jetstream. And there's a quarantine path for stuff that doesn't fit. Oops, and I gave a nice little chart here to just kind of showcase how this works. So on the control plane side, everything to the left of the arrow is a CRD in Kubernetes. And so I'll walk you through some of these in a second, but these are just basically the entities that you need, and they all get shipped over into our streaming pipeline, which does a lot of the emitting and the validating and the routing to the right bucket, essentially. And at the end of the day, the stack will read from these two kind of topics, which are the valid topic, or if it's a quarantine topic, we'll go into a little bit more detail here on these things. This is the basic idea. The four CRD. Somebody jump in there?
Sorry, I just said nice.
Oh, okay. So the
you
four
got him all
CRD.
scared. He thought that was Scott. I mean, he was.
Yeah, I did actually.
Don't
I'm not allowed to
worry,
talk until the end. Yeah. So the four CRDs, I just wanted to put them all on one slide. I have a lot of white space here, but it is what it is. So in the identity column, there's the billing account represents the who pays, what currency they're paying, the terms. And then there's a billing account binding, which it says which project belongs to which account. And then there's a meter definition for the catalog side of things that talks about what's measurable, the units of that, the dimensions of that, and a monitored resource type, which is basically what types emit the usage, right? These are the four key CRDs that make up the usage pipeline.
And all of this is easy except for bandwidth billing, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's just like it's more magic and sorcery than
Okay, so this is just a basic little box and arrow diagram of the same system I was describing before, but it's more from the actual application, the edge side of things, where again, this guy's probably like, not really, but I think it's close enough. So we use like this Go SDK to emit a record from the service to the vector, which does some batching and whatnot. Hits the gateway, which does like validating and then publishes an event into the jet stream, which then feeds into these topics essentially. So there's a quarantine topic, this valid one. I wasn't 100% sure. I think this is true. And then there's the ingest topic, which basically means everything coming into this. So why would we have this quarantine topic? Good question. So when we start these systems, you start with everything intentional. We have this nice meter, great, but now we want a new product that has a new meter that we didn't put into the system beforehand, and all of a sudden it starts spewing stuff into the system, and we don't want to just drop those things on the floor because we might want to come back later and say, oh, we need to like account for all of that now. So it's all in the quarantine topic. As an unknown meter, we would be able to figure that out, replay it, and get it into the right ingestion stream. That's just an example. But yeah, things come into the jet stream with various not structural issues, but attributes that make it so it doesn't match the schema. And so for that, instead of just black holing it, we put it into a quarantine topic.
And where does your third party service that does not really, it's not the source of truth for all this, like, telemetry that's coming through the system, but sort of the, reconcile it, put it on an invoice, rate it, whatever. Where does that come into play here? That's just off to the right? That's sort of metronome,
basically that would take off of this. That would pull off of this valid, basically. You would build your systems off of this. Yeah. This is just the pipeline.
Yeah, our Amber Flow provider essentially connects to the control plane today to create customers in Amberflow for billing accounts that are registered in the Milo platform. It'll create meter definitions in Amberflow based on the meter definitions that exist within Milo. And then, yeah, like Kevin mentioned, there's a component that'll watch the NATS queue and do the necessary translation from our cloud events format of what a usage record looks like into the usage record format that Amberflow expects, just to get all the pieces lining up.
So you can kind of think of Amberflow as just another box that hangs off of this valid, like we're just pushing data. Amberflow is reading from this valid stream. So our like network service would be here, and it would use a cloud event all the way through to the gateway. Gateway publishes it into the Jetstream. Jetstream puts it into this topic, and Amberflow reads it off the topic.
I mean, if the first hardest thing with Milo is to figure out how to build something, maybe even before that is like what not to build. And so in that question, like, don't rebuild Amberflow and Metronome or Autumn, but do build, do build this part of it, right? So that you can be flexible and in control of your own requirements, right?
Right, and you need the auditability, and you need some of the things I didn't mention here, I guess, as well. As part of the nice part of this is when, and I'll show this in the demo actually, is when you describe a billing account, it's not like, I mean, that's a reconcilable thing. You're defining an entity, and so when you do that, like let's say you do that and then immediately try to delete it while it's reconciling in the loop that says, does the currency match the location of this account? Like it would, there's a finalizer that would say, no, you can't do that yet. You have to wait until all of the bindings and everything get created. So then when we want to, and then say you want to move to something, you're not like deleting a binding and recreating it. You're actually creating a new binding, which supersedes the old one. And you have that full audit trail of like the old one and the new one. And like it all exists just off the rip, if that makes sense. So you get that benefit as well.
Yeah. I'm just trying to make and feel free to pull up the demo, but the analogy, I mean, it'd be the same thing for like sending emails or like lots of other, hard to scale things that are complicated that people are best in the world at. We don't need to be best in the world at those, but we do need to have as service providers some sense of control and independence because our businesses are unique, right? Like they have things.
And like this service, this record, like it's really simplified when it's one record. But if you think about when you spin up a compute instance, you're going to start emitting events like, I am now consuming CPU seconds. I'm now consuming memory seconds, and you're going to be emitting, and if you start a compute instance and then stop it and start it and stop it and start it and stop it, like we have to get all of that usage, right? And so there's a lot of events that get shoved through this thing. It looks really simple like this, but the pipe carries millions of events, right? So you can think about it like that. Any other questions before I show the demo real quick? Okay, let's see. I have to stop sharing and do that. Where's Alacrity? Do you see my terminal?
Not yet.
No. I see your face.
Oh.
Yes,
there we go.
Now we see it.
No, now we see Zool the gatekeeper. Wait, is that no? Hold on.
There is no.
Okay.
There is only Zool.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so what you're looking at here is, so here you can see you can use Datum Cloud to get the billing accounts, which looks kind of nice because again, this is just the CRD. I just wanted to show you guys what the CRD itself kind of looks like. Oops. I got my keyboard on this weird incline, so it's messing me up. So you can kind of see here that this is what the billing account looks like on the platform. It has a currency code, it's got payment terms, it's got a name, and then similarly you can see the bindings that I have. Now here I have one project linked to two projects linked to the same account. So I just wanted to do that. And the other thing you can't do, I'm not going to demo, but you can't just edit this. These are immutable. So if you want to change it, you actually have to like make a new one. Essentially, you can't just like edit this and change the name of it or change the project that it's on.
Hey Kevin, if you're not familiar with Kubernetes, what's a binding? When do you use those?
So the binding is what links a project to an account. You'll see here that basically it's a pretty simple little CRD that it kind of has in its spec a billing account reference and a project reference, and you just link. This is how you're linking the two together. And so the account is who it is, and the billing account binding is the what project belongs to which account. And then there's meter definitions as well.
So that's more part of our data model. It's not a Kubernetes thing.
Yes, yeah, absolutely, yeah. Scott, you might want to confirm me on that one. That seems right.
Yep, you're right. You're doing great, Kevin.
It's like a joint
Thank
table.
you, man. Thank you.
It's like you designed this thing.
I know. I worked really hard on this. Harder than this, I think. Okay, so let's see. Oh my gosh. So this is what a meter definition looks like. I didn't talk much about the meter definitions in the slides, but Scott kind of mentioned it there. A meter definition is, well, the definition of a meter, and it basically says to the platform, we're going to have this meter that has, these types of measurements, these types of aggregates, and this having a Emberflow like finalizer on this and our Emberflow provider connected makes it so that when we define a meter definition on the platform, it'll go and create that meter in Emberflow, and it will add it to the portal, which is I'm about to show you as well. I wanted to make sure that I didn't have anything else on this live demo I wanted to show. Oh yeah, so how this works now, what I have over here, this is the port forwarder for the collector, and this is the NATS Jetstream. I'm subscribing to the usage pipeline here. I'm running all of this locally as well. So this isn't the staging or the live one, but I have the port forwarder running here. And what I wanted to show was that I can actually hit this. I made this little thing that I think will hit. I'm not sure if this is going to work. It is. Look at that. So I'm emitting these events using the SDK. I'll show you. I can show you the Go if you want, but basically it's just real simple. It's just emitting a bunch of events over the pipeline to my local host on 9880, which is the port forwarder for the billing collector. The billing collector is taking that data and looking at it and saying, hey, it needs to go to, it's doing what the billing, the gateway piece needs to do, and it's pushing it all into the NATS Jetstream. And you can kind of see here some of the stuff made it into the ingest. And I have the example as well. I think this will emit a quarantine event. So yeah, so because I have that event set up in a way that doesn't apply to a route, you can see that it went into the quarantine bucket with an unknown meter. And if I send one that I think actually works, this one went into the valid bucket. The cool thing about this little tool, as well as this little demo tool, is that once we get this into staging and prod, then I'll be able to do the same thing in prod. So we can use this little tool to kind of test some stuff. Yeah.
And Kevin, just so you know, we're going to drop a lot of people pretty soon because we have un momento left.
Basically it. So let me get back to the slide deck and I can wrap it up real quick.
Thank you, sir.
I think it's this one.
Demo. It says demo. You are correct.
Okay. And so real quickly, what does this unlock? We should be able to unlock some of these things. This is where Scott's like, no, dude, we're not doing this next, whatever. But so downstream systems that build on this stream, we can invoice off of these rollups. We can do entitlements. Is this project allowed to use this meter at this tier? Forecasting. I was really just riffing on this slide. I know it unlocks other things, but there's a whole Milo roadmap, and this billing accounts thing was one of the things we intentionally designed billing accounts first. That way we can build everything on top of it, right? So
sounds good.
And then these are things that are actually on the roadmap, I believe. Billing accounts first, everything else on top. This will allow us to do the pricing engine with tiers and rates, commitments, invoicing. We talked about. We're going to make invoice CRDs. We'll have all that stuff. Payment integration with things like Stripe, whatever we want to do there. Focus exports. I didn't mention it here, but focus exports are a huge thing. Obviously, we can integrate with FinOps stuff. We can go down that path. All of the rest is here. That's it.
Awesome. Thanks, Kevin.
Good job, Kevin.
Yeah, man.
It's looking great.
All right.
I want to stop here.
Collecting money.
Amazing.
Okay.
That'll be great.
All right, guys. Well, we're over time. Thanks so much for coming this month. And like I said, we have new swag. So if you want a t-shirt or a cap or something, just drop me an email. I'll put my email in the chat and I'll send one out to you. But until then, enjoy the rest of May and we'll see you in June.
Thanks, team. See you.
Thanks. Ciao.
Goodbye.